Again, we're making statements.
Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington?
We'll be making statements.
It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack.
He's asking committee.
Will you be condemning Antifa?
We'll be making statements.
They firebombed an American facility. Will you condemn them?
Will you condemn the violence proposed by pro-abortion groups? Will she not condemn it? Are you not condemning the violence proposed by pro-abortion groups?
All right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about the tragic mass shooting that happened at an LGBTQ nightclub out in Colorado Springs, Colorado, that we really don't know much about yet in regards to a motive. However, it has not stopped the far left from politicizing this tragedy to score cheap political points before the bodies could even get cold. Again, it really is a sad state of affairs in our country where we have people who take advantage of tragedies for political gain without having all the facts. Now, here's what we know so far about this suspect. His name is Anderson Lee Aldrich. He was also previously connected to a bomb threat in which there was a standoff at his mother's place between him and the police. So again, this guy was already known to law enforcement as a potentially crazy person, a crazy individual that we should probably keep our eye on. He also has a grandfather who was a California lawmaker who was a Republican. That's all we know, right? We don't know anything else because the suspect hasn't spoken. We know nothing about what this person's potential motivations may have been. Now, that club, Club Q, did host drag shows, and I believe the next morning after the shooting, they were hosting a drag show for all ages. Now, again, do we know if that's connected or not? We have no clue. Why? Because the suspect hasn't spoken. Okay, but that has not stopped the left from coming out here and smearing everybody on the right as responsible for this tragic incident, even though we don't have all the facts. We don't know anything yet. So I want to talk about that and respond to some of these claims from the left. But before I get in that, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. Hey, did you know silver prices are low right now because investors are selling their holdings because of a downturn in demand? Once fears subside, though, we could see a surge in demand for silver as consumers come back. A perfect time to get your silver IRA started. And this month, you'll get a free 3-ounce American silver virtual coin with every qualifying $20,000 IRA purchase or rollover today. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call the team now at 877-646-5347 to find out more or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, so the first reaction I want to talk about that I found to be very interesting, okay? My question is, who is paying this guy? Because somebody has to be paying Charles Barkley to say the most ridiculous things lately in response to what's been going on in the news. But this right here really takes the cake. As for whatever reason, this guy decides to bring up homophobia in the black community in response to this mass shooting. Take a look.
And one thing has always disappointed me, black people treat gay people, we are the worst when it comes to treating gay people. And that's one thing growing up, it really always bothers me. And I want to reach out to you and all my gay friends, all my transgender friends, and tell you, man, I got nothing but love and respect for you. I want you to be you. And I wanted you to know that day, because I understand being black, what it's like being gay, because you get mistreated, and it's really unfortunate and sad and stupid, to be honest with you.
Yeah, who's paying this guy? I mean, seriously, who's paying this guy to say stuff like this? Like, this guy, the alleged mass shooter, is not black. This has nothing to do with black people. So why in the world are you bringing up black people allegedly treating gay people so bad? Which I don't think is true. Okay, I don't think that's true that black people treat gay people worse than anybody. I don't think that's true. Now again, you know, in the South, I've actually brought this up before. Yes, there is a stereotype that, you know, black people tend to be not as accepting because, again, I mean, when you're in the Bible Belt, people are more religious, but at the same time, I think that most people, right, have members of their family that are gay, that are part of the LGBTQ community, and we don't want any violence done against them, right? Obviously, that is not something that we accept. That's not something that we condone. Nobody condones that. So I'm trying to figure out, why are you trying to connect something that has nothing to do with black people to black people? I don't understand. I really don't. Like, what is the point of trying to bring up homophobia, alleged homophobia in the black community in response to this shooting that was not committed by a black person? Wasn't committed by a black person. So again, what's the point? I really don't get it. Okay, but again, Charles Barkley and his takes here lately on news, particularly when we talk about Kyrie, we talk about this situation, have been terrible, right? Absolutely terrible. Again, I'm wondering who's paying this guy to push this agenda here, because when tragedies like this happen, we should not be smearing or blaming any whole group of people for what happened, okay? Because this individual, it seems, was a crazy person, okay? Evidenced by the fact that he was involved in an incident where he allegedly made some bomb threats. Seems like it is this individual's fault, and this individual's fault only. He should be the person to blame, but no. That has not stopped the radical left from taking advantage of this situation, this tragedy where people lost their lives in order to score cheap political points against their political opponents. Take a look.
So you have Lauren Boebert repeatedly making transgender people out to be sexual predators. At the same time, you have people like Matt Walsh constantly talking about genital mutilation of children, genital mutilation of children, genital mutilation of children, over and over and over again. That is all they talked about in the lead up to the midterms. It is all they care about, or at least pretend to care about, because what else would they campaign on? What else would they talk about? Would they talk about corporations robbing you? Would they talk about the economic inequalities in this country? You know, issues that actually matter to ordinary people? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't talk about that. They need something to hang their hat on. So their bigoted, anti-transgender hate is all we've been hearing about for a few years now. So is it any surprise that that would lead to individuals carrying out acts of violence toward a group of people that Republican politicians and conservative media figures have been fear-mongering about for years now? Is it any surprise?
Brandy, explain that when you hear that, your reaction to it, and then kind of walk us through how rhetoric online, rhetoric from politicians can ultimately trickle down into real life, and seeing examples of what happened over the weekend.
Yeah, the response is heartbreaking. I mean, it's a group of marginalized, vulnerable people who are disproportionately the victims of these sort of hate crimes, who are just simply saying, please stop. Please stop making money and gaining political power on our backs and on violence against us. And seemingly the answer from everybody is no, we won't stop that because it's too politically expedient, or it makes us too much money and we don't want to, or we don't know how. I've been following this since about March and April. We follow, online hate trends, I guess. And since April and March, really, the LGBT community has been the main focus of this hatred. There is a pipeline. It starts from some smaller accounts online, like Libs of TikTok. It moves to the right-wing blogosphere, and then it ends up on Tucker Carlson, or it ends up out of a right-wing politician's mouth. And it's a really dangerous cycle that does have real-world consequences.
Yeah, so before I get into this, okay, because I'm going to get into this, I want to read some other responses here. We have AOC, who added Lauren Boebert on Twitter. She says, you have played a major role in elevating anti-LGBTQ plus hate rhetoric and anti-trans laws while spending your time in Congress blocking even the most common sense gun safety laws. You don't get to thoughts and prayers your way out of this. Look inward and change. Yeah, so again, AOC here is trying to blame Lauren Boebert for this, right? Like, as a Republican, I want you to understand, you can't come out and give condolences to the family, right? To the victims, let them mourn, okay? And not use the tragedy as a way to score cheap political points. No, you can't do that. I don't know what the left expects you to do, right? Are you not supposed to say anything? If you don't say anything, then you don't care. If you do say something, then apparently, again, you're a bigot, and that's not enough. So I don't understand what AOC actually is, what her goal is here. What does she want? Because she actually took the opportunity to attack Lauren Boebert before expressing any type of condolences whatsoever. Look at her Twitter account. No condolences whatsoever for the victims, right? The first thing she said about this attack was to use it as a means to go after Lauren Boebert, which tells you exactly what this is to the left. They don't care about these victims. They don't care about their families that are grieving. They don't care about the fact these innocent people lost their lives at the hands of an evil lunatic that everybody agrees should be locked up. What they actually really care about is that this is an opportunity to score political points. None of these people have shed one tear. They have not shed one tear over these people, right? They claim they care about LGBTQ community so much. They have not shed one tear, right? When the Uvalde shooting happened, before I even can talk about it, we talk about kids, 10s, 20 kids getting murdered. Before I got on camera, I told you guys, I was emotional about that, right? I actually did shed tears for those kids. Now, I don't agree with the left solution of taking people's guns, but I actually cared. These people don't care. These people, they haven't lost any sleep whatsoever. They don't care about the victims. They don't care. All they know is that this is an opportunity for them to score points. Look at this. Here's a follow-up tweet. She's now attacking Trump, right? She's attacking Trump. She's trying to connect this to the GOP, right? Oh, this is the GOP's fault. Again, hasn't expressed any condolences. No, nothing. Hasn't put anything out there that's just about the victims and how, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. And just no, everything that she's put out, at least on Twitter, has been a political attack. But again, these are the people that want you to think that, oh, we're so self-righteous, right? Again, look at Lori Lightfoot. I'm sick of this ish. How many people need to be murdered? How many lives torn apart until it actually stops? We don't have to live like this, and we don't have to die like this. Wait, isn't this the mayor of one of the deadliest cities in this country? Right? When we're talking about, dozens of people being killed on an average weekend. I wish she showed this type of passion for the people in her own city. Again, I'm not saying that she can't show passion for these people killed out in Colorado. Obviously, tragic incident, terrible incident. But where's this passion for people in your own city, right? That are dying, mainly black folks, right? That are dying at an exponential clip. You don't have that type of passion. You ain't got nothing to say about that. Again, it's interesting how that works. Well, maybe because, again, she can't score cheap political points. And again, it's funny because these people that are lecturing us about political violence, that, again, we don't have any proof that this guy did anything that's connected to the conservative movement in regards to the push to protect children, okay, to not have children be exposed to some of these ideologies that are being taught in schools, or having biological males compete against biological girls. Like, we don't have any proof that any of these things are connected yet at all. But let's say even if that was the motivation, nobody on the right has called for violence. Nobody told anybody to commit the act of violence like this at all. Okay? And I'm pretty sure everybody on the right who has covered this story has condemned it. We come out here and say, yeah, this is wrong. This person is a psycho lunatic who went out and committed an act of violence against innocent people that should be jailed for the rest of his life, or even worse, okay, if that punishment is available. We've condemned it. However, people on the left, when there's political violence, they refuse to condemn it, right? AOC had opportunity to condemn far leftist violence when it comes to Antifa, the BLM protests, refused to do it. Roe v. Wade protests, refused to do it. These things, again, resulted in violence against their political opponents. They refuse to condemn it. They don't care. But again, they want to sit on their high horse and act all righteous and morally superior to everybody else when a tragedy like this happens that they really don't care about. They really don't care. They really don't care about the lives of those people. Because if they cared about the lives of those people, they would stop their political rhetoric and they would say, hey, you know what? Let's actually wait till the facts come out, because we really don't know, before we start pointing fingers, right? Let's let these families grieve. Let's let people grieve and mourn before we start playing politics. Now we can't do that. Got to play politics immediately. It's almost as if, again, I said this when the Uvalde shooting happened. It's almost like these people actually, they welcome this type of stuff happening. And I hate to say that, but that's kind of what it seems like. They see it as an opportunity more so than a tragedy that just should never happen in this country. They see it as a way to advance themselves politically. And it's sick. It's twisted, man. It really is. It is sick. It is sick. And also, it is done as a way to silence speech. They don't want people on the right speaking out against some of the things that are going on that are immoral in our society. They don't want you speaking out against that anymore. They want you to shut up about it. And they use these type of tragedies in order to do that, to try to pressure you not to say anything about it, as if anybody on the right has called for any type of violence. That has not been true. Nobody's called for any violence. Nobody accepts this. But again, we're at a point in our politics where, unfortunately, when stuff like this happens, particularly the left does this more than anybody, they want to blame a whole nother side of the political aisle for what happened, regardless of the facts, instead of just blaming the individual. It's nobody else's fault except the individual's fault. Regardless of his motivations, it's his fault. Nobody told him to do that. Nobody encouraged him to do that. He did that on his own. And that is the person that we should be blaming. We shouldn't be blaming our political opponents. Every time there's a political attack, I don't come out here and blame the left unless I have a real reason to, right? Like, for example, when the Republican kid got ran over, got murdered, just because the guy thought that he was a Republican extremist, I think that it is reasonable to connect that to the rhetoric of the left. I think that it is reasonable to connect that to Joe Biden, because that is what they've been talking about. They say Republicans are extremists and we are a threat to democracy. We're semi-fascist. This is what he said. So I think it's reasonable to connect that, because we know for certain what the motive was. It was 100% political. But this right here, we have no clue what the motive is yet, as of making of this video. Hasn't stopped these people from coming out here and blaming everybody on the right. They will never acknowledge when they're responsible for political violence in this country. They'll never acknowledge it. They will ignore it. They won't talk about it. Again, this is not making you morally superior to anybody. It actually makes you look like sick, twisted individuals who celebrate when tragedies happen that you can politically benefit from. Again, it's sad, man. It really is that people can't just mourn these type of incidences without turning this into some type of political show. This is what happens every single time. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.